From Webcast One Live Studios, it's the Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we help you tackle financial issues no matter how big or small. We help people go from being broke and scared to having hope with a plan. And now, here is your host, the owner and lead financial coach at Strong Tower Consulting, Justin Bennett.
And we are live here at the Webcast One Studios here in Des Moines. This is the Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we do help people going from being broke and scared to having them have hope with a plan. And thank you for joining us tonight. On today's show, we're going to have one of our sponsors, Steve Bensiman with RE/MAX Real Estate. And this is the time of year where we start to get excited about buying a home. For some, it's first-time home buyer. For others, you're looking at buying your next home. Maybe you're looking at selling your home. And using a realtor, how does that help you? How does that not help? And we're going to go through that today and have you get to know Steve a little bit better. He does a great job in the real estate world, and I want you to get to know him. Also today, we're going to talk about one of the hottest topics in personal finance today, the credit score. How the credit score is figured, what's in your score, what's not in your score. Is it something you should care about, not care about? What are the truths and realities, the myths when it comes to the credit score? All of that will be hammered out in today's show. Well, I want to introduce our guest for today, Steve Bensiman with RE/MAX Real Estate. Steve, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good. Can't complain. How about yourself?
Doing well. So 2013, January is about done. Give us a little update, what you think of the real estate market for 2013.
You know, overall, all the indicators are showing that the real estate market is going to really improve in 2013. So the statistic was about 2 years ago, they thought that 2011, 2012 was going to be about flat to negative 1%, and that's about what we saw. But then in 2012, what we really did see is from the beginning of that year up until now, we've actually seen a pretty good appreciation starting in the market. So 2013, I think, is really going to carry into that. I think mortgage rates have actually, unfortunately, started climbing in the last 2 weeks. So really now is the best time to buy a home this year, because if rates do creep up, it really, really changes the mortgage payment. But I think what that shows is the banks are then confident, too, that things are turning the corner. They wouldn't start raising the rates unless they thought that things were going in the right direction.
Interesting. And folks, whenever I bring our sponsors onto the show, one of the things that I like to do is to give you a chance to get to know them better. And Steve, when I first met him and explained to me how he got in the real estate business, I just thought that was interesting. So Steve, share us your story, because you didn't get into real estate like most real estate agents do. Share that with us.
Yeah, so how far back do you want me to go in that story?
Just you never thought of yourself in the sales category, or as far as and just kind of, because you would call yourself not a real estate agent, you're more of a consultant, and people need to know about that difference and what led you into the profession of real estate.
Absolutely. So I was working a corporate job, and it just was not the right fit for me. I just kind of felt like I was showing up, doing the work, and just not really enjoying doing what I really loved. And so really I was looking for a different opportunity. I had a friend that invited me into the real estate industry. And I remember I was talking to my dad about that. And I was like, well, this is definitely a different thing. It's kind of slight risk for me. And I remember he kind of asked me the question he's like, well, the question is, are you a salesman? I thought about it for a minute and I said, no, but I don't think I need to be. And so what I approached the business with is, if I come in with a consulting approach where I'm really trying to add value to the client's experience, I'm not just trying to sell them a used car. I never try to take the approach of, hey, what can I do to get you in this house today? That's just not the way I really want to try to roll in the industry. And so by taking in a consulting approach, it has generated repeat business, it's generated referral business, and it's really helped me to put myself in a situation where the clients realize I am looking for their best interest.
That's awesome. Now, you do a couple things that are different than most realtors, and we'll talk about the buying process and the selling process in a moment. But
Sure.
One of the things that you shared with me early on that I thought was interesting is your love it or leave it guarantee. What in the world is that? Because I've never heard a realtor do that before.
Yeah, let me tell a story where that came from. So my brother and sister-in-law, my nephew is a special needs kid. He was born with spina bifida, has been confined to a wheelchair his whole life. So when they were looking for a house, they wanted something that was wheelchair accessible. And so they found this perfect townhome, wheelchair accessible, everything one level, not even a step into the house, perfect house for them. They were in their late 30s, somewhere around that range, early 30s, somewhere in there, and didn't realize that basically it was a retirement community. And so it wasn't designated as that so they could buy it, but then all the neighbors were terrible to them. They had a terrible experience, did not enjoy it at all. And effectively, about a year later, they said, we're done with this. They put it for sale by owner sign out front because they just didn't have the equity to even be able to try to sell it on their own. with a realtor at the time, and they had to take a loss on that house to get themselves out of a bad situation, but a great house. And so what I did is I started thinking through it, and I was like, I never want that to happen to my clients. And so I started thinking through, what would it look like for me to be alongside my clients after the sale? And so basically what I do is I tell my clients, I want to find you the right house the first time. But if something comes up where it's not the right house, maybe it's a bad relationship with neighbors, maybe you get pregnant with another child that doesn't fit anymore, whatever the situation is, if they come back to me within the first 6 months and they say, hey, we love the house, we did until XYZ happened, we're just really not happy. We can't stand pulling into our driveway every night. What I'm going to do is I'm going to list their house for them for free and help them find a house that's going to be a better fit for them. So I want to be by my client's side during, before, and after the closing process.
Wow. So if in 6 months, correct? So if it's
Correct,
in 6 months, if they go for any reason, I don't like the house that I bought and you were the buyer's agent, you're willing to relist that house at no cost.
So basically what I do with that is I don't charge any commission on my side. So we still have to cover the commission of the buyer's agent on the other side. But I'm not going to take any commission out of that.
Wow.
To be able to help them find the right place.
Now, speaking of commission, you mentioned that, and I think that's something else that you should talk about because, again, that's different. Most folks that don't want to use a realtor, one of the major reasons why is the commission. Well, I will say a commission to a realtor is very much worth its weight, but Steve does the commission a little differently. Walk us through your commission process because I think it might surprise in a good way potential folks that would use you, especially on the sales side.
Yeah, so basically I've created a tiered system. So I've got my normal commission rate that I usually try to charge. And what that is it covers all the expenses that I have, the marketing expense, the time, and everything that I'm able to do. Now, what I do is if I'm representing both the sellers and the buyers in a transaction, I charge 1% less. It's more efficient in my time. I don't have to be trying to chase down another realtor for signatures, and the whole process goes a lot smoother. So I want to pass that savings on to my sellers. And then the next step of that is if I put a home on the market and they're out telling all their friends and all they're trying to market it as much as they can and everything's in line with me, I only charge them 4%. My theory is if I didn't find the buyer, why should I get paid for it? And so what I'm really trying to do is create a partnership with my clients of we together are trying to get your home sold. And so it's not just me trying to go out and do everything, which I still do and market beyond expectations, but also trying to really work with my clients to get everything to go through.
Now, speaking of that, so when your potential clients hear you walk them through that commission structure, what is their first response? Are they shocked? Are they wow? Didn't phase them? Walk us through. If I'm a client or a potential client and you just told me that, how would I respond to that?
I've had across the board, I've had some people that didn't like it because it was confusing.
Okay.
Then I've had other people that absolutely loved it because they're the kind of people that they're just going to tell every single person that they know that their home's on the market regardless. And that just incentivizes them even more. So if you're talking about a $100,000 house and they find the buyer, that's saving them probably about $3,000. So it's a pretty good chunk there.
Wow. Well, as we mentioned earlier, we want to get to know Steve a little bit. So tell us about your family. You're married and have 2 kids? Actually, I know it's not 2 kids. How many kids do you have? And walk us through your family here.
We have got 4 kids, 4 and under. So my oldest is Miles. He's a little boy, full of life, full of energy. And we've got a 2-year-old daughter named Nora. And then we just had twins 4 months ago today, actually. So
Wow.
Peyton and Olivia. So pretty excited about all 4 of them. They all are very different already. You can see the personality changes and kind of corny, but we named them all MNOP for Miles, Nora, Olivia, and Peyton.
Very cool. Now, what cities is your real estate market? What areas do you typically list and help people find their right home?
Short answer, anywhere.
Okay.
So basically what that means is if I have a friend that is relocating to the East Coast, I can find a good agent in that area that can help them find a home and get into the right fit. And the great thing for me is then I can get a referral commission off of that from that agent. So it helps me find my friends a good agent, but then it also helps me out as well in that. Longer answer is locally, my office is out of Ames, and so I really am focusing on building the Ames and surrounding areas. But I also made a commitment a couple years ago to get on the Des Moines MLS as well. So I'm able to cover homes from Ellsworth, as far north, if you know where that is, all the way down to Norwalk if I need to. So really trying to just build a business around helping people and seeing where that takes me.
Now, you mentioned MLS. For those of us, I know what the word MLS means, but for
Sure.
those non-real estate folks, what does MLS mean?
It's multiple listing service. It's basically the small entity that makes realtors play nice. So any home that I list goes out in the MLS, and every other agent's going to see that. Then same thing, vice versa. I'm going to see all the other agents' listings. So what that ultimately means, and this is something to kind of share with anybody that's out there looking to buy a home, you do not have to call the agent that's on the sign. So if you have somebody that you know that you're already planning on working with, you can call that person. They can show you any home. And if you don't have somebody, again, I'd love to be that person to be able to help people out.
And speaking of that, we always get testimonials in the business, whether we get, I always get testimonials of my clients and you get testimonials, but very rarely do we actually vocally or audio be able to hear that testimony. Can you share with any testimonies, any recent clients that have used you as your agent?
Yeah, absolutely. There's one first that comes to mind. I was working with this lady in Ames, and she had this home that she had as an investment property for years, and she tried to sell it on contract, and it didn't work, and she had to take it back. And really what she wanted is she wanted a young family in the home. And it was kind of by campus area, so we were getting a lot of offers from investors, and she was like, no, I don't want any of that. And when I brought her the offer from this family that I'd been working with, they had written up a letter of saying kind of what they were excited about in the home. And she read through the letter, and she just loved this family even before she met them. And so she was so ecstatic, so excited. This is somebody that's been another professional in the Ames area for years and years and years, and has chosen to work with me because of the way that I care, the way that I take care of things, and the way that I really listen to what she was looking for in that transaction.
Wow. So what if someone's working with another realtor and they're watching this right now and they're going, wow, this Steve Bensma guy sounds great. How does someone switch realtors? Is that possible? And whether on the buyers or the seller side?
Yeah. Ultimately, the first thing I would say, actually, if approach a realtor that you're working with, and if there's certain things that they're not doing that you'd really like them to do, let them know. They may not know the expectations that you have. If you try that and it doesn't work, or even if you're just at the point where I just don't even want to work with this other person anymore, really any of those contracts you can get out of. So whether it be a listing contract, you call them up and say, this just isn't working, I want to part ways. And you can cancel that listing contract. Or for buyers, basically just tell them, I'm sorry, but we're not clicking. And I really want to try to find someone that's going to listen more to what I'm looking for, whatever the reason is. But any of that, I just encourage you to be upfront and honest with the agent so that they can figure out why, so they're not having to question afterwards.
Wow. Awesome. Well, when we come back, we are going to have Steve Bensma back with us to talk more about the buyer's process and the seller's process when buying a home, and why it is important to use a realtor, especially Steve Bensma. He's awesome at it. Also, when we come back, we'll be talking about the FICO score, what impacts your score, what's in your score, what's not in your score. This is the Strong Tower Financial Hour. I am Justin Bennett, your host, and we will see you in just a moment.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
If you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave. and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
And we are back. This is Webcast One Live Studios. This is Strong Tower Financial Hour. I am Justin Bennett, your host, and thank you very much for joining us. Later on today's show, we're going to be talking about, again, one of the hottest topics in personal finance, the credit score. So please stay tuned for that. With us from the last segment and this segment again also is Steve Bensema with Remax Real Estate, one of the realtors and a very fine realtor at that. Steve, how's it going again?
Going well, going well.
So in 3 minutes, we're still well. That's awesome. Well, the first segment, we spent time getting to know you a little bit as a person and your overall philosophy as a realtor. And one of the questions I failed to ask you is referrals. Mm-hmm. What percent of your business is referrals? Because I think one of the things that set apart anybody in any industry is the amount of referrals they get. So what percent of your clients are currently referrals?
In 2012, it was just under half of the clients that I worked with were some sort of either referral from a network, from a lender, or past client. So I'm getting to the point where almost half of my business is just referral based.
Very cool. And a good question to always ask a realtor. So since it's a good question and we have a realtor, we're going to ask the question, What is your average list to sale ratio? And then then explain that, because us in the business world, we know what that is. So explain first what that list to sale ratio is and then what it is.
Yeah, so list to sales ratio really is a metric you can use to figure out how good is your realtor at negotiating and how good is your realtor at pricing the home to begin with. So the goal of any agent is to get low days on market, which we'll talk about in a second, I'm assuming, and getting a high list to sales ratio. So list to sales ratios, you take what it was listed at, what it sold at, and figure out what that percentage is. So for example, the average list to sales ratio in our market is 94.6%. My average list to sales ratio this last year was 98.1%. So on average, I'm getting people 3.5% more for their home than the average agent can do.
And I think another way of saying that is we're not having to keep reducing the price just to get an offer. You're pricing it accurately the first time or really close to accurate. So that way there's not a lot of back and forth. It's here's the price. Let's get the job done. And that really saves a lot of hassle for the seller.
Yep, absolutely.
And then also they get to make a little bit more on the transaction. So that's awesome. So speaking of that, we're going to talk about the sales process as far as using you to list a home. So if someone wants to list a home and they pick a realtor or they pick you, Steve Bensema, what goes into that process of listing a home?
There is a lot that goes into that process, and that's where you really need somebody to guide you through that. The biggest thing is around getting the expertise to know what the home really should be marketed for. So the three main things that are going to get a home sold are going to be the price, the condition, and just having a...
Location, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm having a Perry moment, I think. Said three things and could only remember two.
Is that right?
No, price, quality, and condition. So you got to make sure the price is done right, that the people are keeping the home in the right condition. And then the exposure piece of it is to be able to get as many people to see the home as possible. So the condition, really, that's something that's up to the home seller. So I can give as much advice as I want, but if they don't keep the condition up, it's going to be really hard to get people to fall in love when they first walk through the door. Price is something that I work through with people, be able to show them the comparable, show them the market, show them what the home should sell for. But then ultimately that list price is really going to be up to them, and it's my job to educate them and help them make a good informed decision. Then the exposure piece is really where a realtor comes in. My job as a realtor is to expose the home to as many people as possible, and even go beyond that, not just expose it to as many people as possible, but try to get as many interested buyers in the door as possible. So my job basically is I'm a connector. I have a home, I have people that want to sell that home, and I have to go out and find the right buyer for that home and bring them to the home.
And so how do you market So you list a home and you get the listing, and obviously a for sale sign goes in the yard. But what else do you do on the average home that you list to attempt to get it to sell?
Yeah, so I've got a 20-point marketing plan that I go through with every single seller. So I'll sit down and walk them through exactly what I do when it comes to marketing their home. I'll hit a couple of those highlights. Obviously, we don't have time to go through all 20 of them. But a couple of things I do is really working with the clients to make sure that their home is in great shape when we get it on the market. So one thing that I do with that is we do pre-listing inspections. So every single home that I list, I bring in a roofing contractor and I bring a furnace inspector. Unless it's been just done within the last year or something, it's not really necessary. But the reason for that is there's two big things that come up in home inspections that cause the biggest hassle for sellers. And those are roof and furnace.
So again, just like you did earlier, you're always thinking ahead, preparing ahead, so that way there's not a lot of hiccups because you want to make this a smooth transaction for your seller.
Absolutely. Well, and think of it this way too. If somebody has a $100,000 home and they really don't want to take below $95,000, there's an offer that comes in at 96 and they're okay with that and we can make it work. And all of a sudden the furnace is not going to work and the buyers are asking for a $3,000 new furnace. That brings them below where they wanted to be. Whereas if we know that up front, we can price the home accordingly at 103 or whatever the case would be and be able to get them what they're looking for. And so the pre-listing inspections is one of the pieces of what I really want to try to do. Another piece is I bring in a stager into every single home. So what I want to do is partner with other professionals that are great at what they do to be able to leverage their expertise. So the stager that I work with is going to come in and work with the existing furniture that's there and try to give tips and advice on how to inexpensively maximize the opportunities for their home. Then another thing is I do HD video tours. So I'll go through the home with a camera and I will do a whole tour of it. And I send it off to some people, again, great professionals that are great at what they do, that are going to take the video, edit it, take out any breaks, take out any stabilization issues, put it to music and do some voiceover on it. So those are just three of the things. Then beyond that, really just working to make sure people are kept in touch with what's going on. There's 17 other things here I could keep talking about.
Absolutely. So what is the average time a house is on the market? And then how does your listings compare to that? I think that'd be interesting for our viewers to hear.
Sure. The average time on market is about 119 days for our area. Last year, my average days on market was 56.
Wow.
So again, as we were talking earlier, not only am I going to get 3.5% more per home, but I'm also going to sell it hopefully in about half the time if we have it. And again, that just all goes back to how do we have it priced right to begin with, and what's the condition and exposure piece looking like.
Now, one of the things you were mentioning earlier is about keeping in contact with your clients. Mm-hmm. So you list a home with Steve Benson, the for sale sign is in the yard. How do you keep in contact versus just putting a sign on the yard and where'd Steve go?
Yep. One of the things that I do is anytime an agent wants to set up a showing, I'm always having them contacting me so I can contact the owners. Part of that is I want control of the communication that's going on with my sellers. Then beyond that, I have a program called showingfeedback.com. So every single time the home is shown, I'm sending that agent a survey to fill out to say, hey, what did your clients think of the price? What did they think of the condition? Are they interested? Do they want to come back through? And getting that information from the agents and then sending that to the sellers so that they can know in real time what's going on. So if somebody walks in and they're like, something was a little fishy, smell wasn't quite right, or notice this was a little untidy, whatever the case is, the sellers can see that right away and be like, oh yeah, completely forgot to clean up dinner from the night before, or whatever might have been the issue. But then on top of that too, we've got some great resources through Realtor.com, through Zillow.com that shows how many people are viewing the homes. So I'll set people up on those automatic reports so they can see in real time again how many people are looking at their home. And so all of a sudden, sometimes they might see that, wait a minute, the surveys are saying we might be overpriced, and less people each week are viewing it online. And sometimes the sellers are coming to me and being like, hey, based on what you're showing me, maybe we should do a price reduction. And so just trying to get people getting people the right information so that they can make the best, most informed decision for them and their family.
Now, one of the big things when it comes to selling a home is the big for sale by owner, because they don't want to pay the commission. They don't think you're worth the commission. You're going to get a big fat check just for putting a sign on the yard. Well, I can do that. Mm-hmm. Why should someone that's considering a for sale by owner, wait a minute, they should just scratch that idea and go to a realtor? What's the difference between what you do and a for sale by owner, and why should they choose you versus trying to sell it on their own?
So the advice that I usually give people that want to do for sale by owner, if they're dead set on it, I say give yourself 2 or 3 weeks. if it's going to sell, it's going to sell in that first 2 or 3 weeks, or else you're just going to be spinning your wheels for the rest of the time. The reason for that is the statistics are that 87% of homes that try to do for sale by owner end up listed. So there's only a 13% success ratio. But then in that 13%, 10 of those percent are already people that knew the person, a friend or a neighbor or whatever the connection was. So really, you only have a 3% true success ratio. And in that case, most of those situations, I'm assuming there's another agent on the buyer side for, because most of the buyers out there know that they need to find a buyer's agent to get into homes. So you have a 3% success ratio to try to save 3%. Whereas if you list with an agent, that can expose it to more people. And another statistic is that listed homes sell on average for 11% more than for sale by owner homes. And there's different ways that statistic can be looked at. But ultimately, as an agent, I'm going to be able to get the home exposed more, get more people in the door, and get more for the home than a for sale by owner is going to be able to save in not paying me.
Wow. And I think not only that, but go through or maybe touch on all the work it takes as a for sale by owner, because again, it's not just putting a sign on the yard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, walk through what they have to do that you would normally do for them.
Yeah, so there's, again, some of it comes just from leveraging the network that I have of getting the right people in there to do the inspections, to know what's going to be expected to happen. But then after you do get an offer, how good are you as a home seller going to be at qualifying that buyer? Sure, they called you up, they want to come look at the home. You're letting potentially strangers in your home that have never been screened by anybody else. They might make an offer, give you a pre-approval letter, but do you know if that pre-approval letter is valid? Do you know if they're able to really close on the home? One of the most frustrating things I hear from people that have tried for sale by owner that have gotten an offer is that, well, it fell apart because the buyers really couldn't get the loan. And so that's where you want people around you that can navigate you through the process. Let's say it is a good buyer. They have a good pre-approval letter. And then there's everything that happens after that, of having to get the abstract updated, having to navigate the inspections, having to navigate everything else that goes through the entire closing process. And in most of those situations, you're going to have to hire an attorney to do a lot of that for you. So then you add the attorney cost back in on top as well, and it starts really eating into what you're actually saving by trying to do it on your own.
Very cool. Well, we got about 30 seconds left.
Sure.
Is there anything else that we should know about Steve Bensma and what he does, especially on the seller side?
Really what I try to do, again, is reiterate this again, try to work with my clients to give them all the information that they need so that they ultimately are making the best decision for them and their family.
Well, the next time you're in, we're going to talk about the buyers and what you do for the buyers that are looking for houses. When we come back on Strong Tower Financial Hour, we're going to be talking about the most critical or most talked about personal finance topic, the credit score. So we'll welcome you when we come back. This is, again, the Strong Tower Financial Hour. I am Justin Bennett, your host, and we'll be back.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
At Conroy Insurance Services, LLC, we help families and business owners protect their most valuable assets. We have established an excellent reputation with our clients, and we will continue to strive to exceed your expectations. Our talented team of insurance professionals are always available to assist you, and that is why we are independent, trusted, and preferred. Hi, I'm Bob Conroy. Contact me for all of your personal and business insurance needs at conroyllc.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Because I heard you say there's gonna be brighter days. There's gonna be brighter days. I won't stop, I'll keep my head up. No, I'm not here to stay.
And we are back at the Webcast One studios. This is again your host, Justin Bennett of the Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we give hope, help and hope for folks so they're not broke and scared, and give them hope with a plan. Well, one of the most talked about personal finance topics out there is the credit score. And there's a lot of things that we're not educated on that I'm going to take the time today to go over how the score works, what's in the score, what's not in the score, and then some things that you might be shocked to know or did not know. We're going to go through that today. First, let me tell you, when it comes to the credit bureaus, there are 3 different major credit bureaus that banks, lenders, etc. use when pulling your credit report. And those are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Those are the 3 major credit bureaus used when it comes to your credit report. And when it comes to your credit score, there's a range. Typically, the lowest is 300 for a score, the highest is an 850. And you actually have the right to pull your credit report for free once per year. The government does allow you to do that once per year, pull your credit report. And the website I highly encourage you using is annualcreditreport.com. Again, you can see on your screen there, it's annualcreditreport.com. And there's going to be a graphic here in a moment. There's going to be a screenshot of that website, and it should look like what you'll see on your screen in just a moment. There are other ones out there, and I don't know much about them, but I do know there's a lot of scams out there. So Annual Credit Report is the one you want to use. And when you pull that, you'll be able to get all the information that's on your credit report for free, no cost, once per year. The one thing that's not in your score or in your free credit report is your score. If you want to see your score, you have to pay an extra fee for that. But you really don't need that. The whole purpose of pulling a credit report is to see what's on there, because a lot of credit reports actually have misrepresentations on their credit bureau. I actually used to be a mortgage lender, and for 10 years, I pulled credit reports for various different reasons. And to share with you a story of a mistake, I had a client that was looking to get a refinance on their mortgage, and he was junior. His dad was senior. Dad had recently passed away. I pulled their credit report. When I pulled their credit report, and one of the credit cards on there said, borrower is deceased. And then it didn't even give me a credit score. Well, the borrower wasn't deceased. The borrower was sitting right in front of me. Well, what happened was his dad's senior credit card somehow got on junior's credit report. And so we had to walk him through the process to get that off the credit report, because it completely eliminated his score from the report. So there are mistakes on your credit report, and that's why you want to check it again, annualcreditreport.com. Now, what is not in your score? Your credit score has many things in it, but things that are not in it are things such as your salary, who you work for, your title, your occupation, how long you've been with somebody. None of that is in your credit score. However, there are 5 major components to your credit score, and all this information you can find on myfico.com. So the 5 major areas of the credit score is this. 35% of your credit score is based on your debt payment history, how you pay on your debts. There's a graphic on the screen. So 35% of your credit report, or credit score rather, is how you pay your debts. Most people know that most of your credit score is based upon, do you make your payments on time or not? But the next 65% of the score, most people aren't aware of. 30% of your credit score is based on the amount of debt you owed in relation to what you can borrow. What does that mean? Simply put, the more that you borrow can actually harm your credit score, even if you make on-time payments. I have seen many credit bureaus where they never missed a payment, but their credit score wasn't that good, and it was because they have borrowed too much money. The other is true, where if you start to pay off your debt and become debt-free, your credit score starts to go away, which I find that pretty amazing. 15% of your credit score is based upon the length of time that you're in debt. So the longer that you are in debt actually can help your credit score. 10% of your score is based on type of debt. Is it a mortgage loan? Is it a revolving line of credit, such as a credit card or overdraft protection? Is it a collection account? Do you have a bankruptcy on your credit report? All of those things could positively or negatively impact your score. And then 10% of your score is based on new debt. Have you applied for a lot of credit cards lately? You know, we just got out of the Christmas season, and if you applied for a lot of credit cards or department store cards, your score might have been harmed because you applied for a lot of credit in a short window of time. Let's quickly review those. 35% of your score is based on your debt payment history. 30% of your score is based on your debt levels. 15% of your score is based upon the length of time you're in debt. 10% of your score is based on type of debt, and 10% based on new debt. What was the one word that I said in each of those 5 categories? Are you ready? Debt. The only way your credit score is figured is by how much debt you go into, how long you're in debt, how you pay your debt. Dave Ramsey, who I really believe in strongly when it comes to personal finances, when he says when you accurately look at this credit score, you could call it the I love debt score, because the only way you have a credit score is to be in debt. Now, as a banker, when I first heard him say that, I was very upset because I'm like, no way is a credit score an I love debt score. Not a chance. And then he said, but I'm going to prove it to you. And the moment he said that, I knew I was in trouble because I was about to see my paradigm shift. Because he said these 2 things. If your employer were to give you a raise to $1 million a year, it would not change your credit score 1 point unless you borrowed money using that money. Wow. So I could give you $1 million right now and your credit score doesn't change a bit. You could inherit a bunch of money from grandma or grandpa or from a sibling or from a parent, and none of that inheritance affects your credit score at all. It is simply an I love debt score. Well, why are we saying that? Because a lot of people in America today view the credit score as an accurate means to depict how well they're doing financially. And there's no statistic to back this other than the probably thousands of credit reports I've seen in my lifetime. The credit report is absolutely one of the worst ways to see how you're doing financially. Now, yes, do I know millionaires have a great credit score? There are some, but I have seen a lot of folks that have a good 600 or 700 credit score, and even some with the 800 credit score, and their credit and their financials are horrible. Here's a great example. The last year I was in banking, I pulled a credit score for a 59-year-old couple, and I pulled their credit score, and it's an 804. Now, folks, an 804 credit score, for those who care, that's a great credit score. In fact, this lady was dancing like this in her chair. She was excited. She had an 804 credit score. She thought she hit jackpot. Well, as I was going through her credit bureau, I noticed something, and I thought it was a mistake. And so I said, ma'am, do you own a car where your car payment is $1,666? She goes, oh, yeah, it's my Escalade out in the parking lot. Now, I'm like, wow, there was an $80,000 loan, almost a $1,700 car payment, and we had an 804 credit score. By the way, she had a house payment of $1,400 and a take-home pay of $3,000. So let's do the math. $3,000 minus $1,700 minus $1,400. All the money was gone just to go to a car payment and a house payment. Well, how were they going to pay for food, utilities, insurances, going out to eat, gifts, car repairs, house repairs, money in savings, money in retirement? They were actually pulling money out of their retirement account, what little they had, to do everything else with. I projected in 5 years, I was probably going to see them at Walmart greeting me because they were going to need an income. Now, I'm not mad if you're a Walmart greeter, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. But again, they were excited about an 804 credit score, and their entire take-home pay went to their house payment and car payment, again, of $1,666. Again, the highest credit score pulled or possible is an 850. I will tell you the highest credit score I've ever seen or ever heard of pull was an 845. No one has ever pulled an 850. In fact, if you read personal finance magazines or blogs or newsletters, you will see there are many people out there who are trying to be the first one to get to this elusive 850. And what makes us even more crazy is if you call myfico.com on their website, call their number and ask them, how do you get an 850? Do you know how they're going to tell you? They don't know. Go online, Google how to get an 850. Everyone's trying to find out this formula, but no one knows how to get the credit score, not even the credit bureaus themselves. Wow. And here's the other thing. With your credit report, you may have things on your score that you didn't even do. In fact, right now, if you're an authorized user on someone's credit card, do you realize that even though you're not legally liable, it can harm your score? I had a customer at the bank, when I pulled their credit report, it was a very bad score. But I was confused because all of their debts, they paid on time. But there was one debt that had severe delinquencies, was big time behind. And it happened to be, they were an authorized user on their mom's credit card. And had the bank I worked at been like most banks that are so reliable on the credit score, they wouldn't have got the loan. Now, please hear me say this. If you know me loud enough, I do not like the credit score at all. I'm not like debt at all. The only debt I'm okay with you ever getting into is a mortgage. And we'll talk more about that in the next segment. But the bottom line is this. The credit score was never meant for you as an accurate indicator of how you're doing with building wealth and winning with money. When the credit score was first started, for banks to have a more efficient way of underwriting you and to not discriminate giving a loan to you versus someone else because of color, race, sex, or creed. So the credit score, again, was never meant for you. But over the last 15 to 20 years, that's all we hear about is the credit score, the credit score, the credit score. You've got to be on top of it. You've got to have a great credit score. Again, I am here to tell you, I have pulled a lot of credit bureaus. I can tell you there are a lot of people out there with a great credit score, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. They have no money in the bank. They are stressed out at home. If you're married, you're arguing about it. They're pulling money out of their retirement because they don't have enough money to pay for when the car breaks or the roof goes out. The credit score is not meant for you. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out there and see how fast that you can destroy your credit score. That's not the point. In fact, if you follow the baby steps, as we talked about earlier, and you can go to my website, strongtowerconsulting.com, to find the Dave Ramsey baby steps. If you follow these baby steps in order, at first, your credit score is probably going to improve. But over time, your credit score is going to go away. When you pay off all of your debt, including your house, you have a big fat 0 for a credit score. Oh my gosh, no credit score, you can't function. You can. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about what you can do if you do not have a credit score and how you can improve doing that. I'm sorry.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
My name is Justin Bennett with Strong Tower Consulting, where we passionately coach individuals, families, and businesses to make better financial decisions that help create success and eliminate financial stress. I offer a free 30-minute consultation where we find out where your situation is. I explain how I do my coaching services. Then it's up to you whether you want to continue. The Bible has, depending on who you believe, 800 to 2,000 scriptures that talk about money alone. So pretty important subject in God's eyes. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing, is help them see God's ways of handling money. You know, it's interesting. Most people that I ask, what would it be like to be debt-free? The common response is, I don't know. I don't think it's possible. But in 90 days, most of my clients go from, I don't think it's possible, to I'm excited. In 2 years or less, I will be debt-free. There's no tricks, no gimmicks, nothing being sold here. It's just learning how to do money well. This is Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we help people go from being broke and scared to having hope with a plan.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy for Adam Albrecht, financial planner and AO Wealth Advisor. Adam, tell the folks listening today, just who is Adam Albrecht?
I am a certified financial planner, and I created AO Wealth Advisory a couple years ago to be able to help people with their finances all the way from basic budgeting on to retirement and estate planning.
All right, now that we know who you are, what do you do? How do you help people?
I help people by focusing on 3 key areas, on what they earn, how they invest it wisely, and then also where they give it on, whether it's onto charity or onto family, but do it from a biblical base, using verses that have been around forever, transcendent knowledge that's been around 4,000 plus years.
Call Adam Olbrecht, a financial planner with AO Wealth Advisory. Give us your number, Adam.
Yeah, 515-224-7849.
Advisory services offered through Investment Advisors Corp., an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Broker Dealer Financial Services Corp., members FINRA and SIPC. Thanks for watching.
And we are back in live again. This is the Webcast One Studio, Strong Tower Financial Hour. I am Justin Bennett, your host. Earlier today, if you missed us, we had Steve Bensema with RE/MAX Real Estate. He is a fine realtor. If you need someone to help you buy your next home or your first home, or you need to list a home, make sure to contact Steve Bensema. And you can go to his website at liveia.com. Well, we have been talking about the credit score, and I went on a pretty big rant a second ago or a moment ago about the credit score and why it is not an accurate way of how you're winning with money. In fact, one more point to that before I talk to you about what do you do when you don't have a credit score anymore, or maybe if you don't have a credit score right now, how can you do some of the basic things? Interesting, in a book I've read called Good to Great by Jim Collins, and Jim Collins is known as one of the finest authors when it comes to things in business. In the book Good to Great, that book took 10 companies and researched why they went, what took them from good to great. Well, there was one company in there that, in my opinion, went from good to great to plain horrible, and that's Fannie Mae. Because in 1994, when this book came out, they researched Fannie Mae, and back in 1994, Fannie Mae was very healthy financially. They had a lot of good things going for them. But in 1995, if you research it, you'll find that is when Fannie Mae started to really depend on the credit score as a major component to their underwriting. Now, let me ask you a question. How good is Fannie Mae doing today, Freddie Mac? Not well at all. I haven't read a positive article in a long time about them. And it's interesting, as they started their downhill descent, the credit score became a part of their criteria. Well, what if I don't have a credit score? Or what if I do all the things you teach, I get out of debt, and I start to build wealth? There are certain things you need a credit score for, right? Nope. And we're going to tackle some of them. First, let's talk about a mortgage. If you heard me earlier, I said the only debt I'm okay with is a mortgage. And before we go into the credit score piece, let's quickly go over what are the criteria in getting a mortgage loan that I recommend before you go out and get a mortgage. First, you need a minimum of 10% down. Why a minimum of 10%? Well, I believe this, as my mother-in-law used to say, if you can't put 10% down, you're not emotionally ready to buy a house, because you're going to have things like the heater going out, windows breaking. You're going to need to update it, get better siding, and put shingles on and update some things. And so if you can't put 10%, if you don't have the discipline to save 10%, you're not going to have the disciplines to take care of a house. But the other part of it is this: if you have at least 10% down, what if you buy a house? Let's say you're a first-time home buyer, you found the perfect house, and you didn't put 10% down, and a year and a half into that house, one of you get offered a great job, but you're going to have to relocate. Well, you don't have any margin. And what if you're in a down market and now you got to sell a home? How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to have to take a loss. And if you don't have money in savings, and 64% of Americans don't have $1,000 in savings, you're going to write a check with money you don't have to get out of the house. Now, again, I'm for owning real estate. I'm for you getting a home. But again, first thing you need is 10% down. Second thing you're going to need to do is, with your income, that it is no more than 25 to 35% of your take-home pay. The next time we have Steve Bensema on, we'll talk about that, why. But in short is this: you don't want to buy a house that then later you can't take your kids out for pizza, you can't enjoy movies, and you can't enjoy things of life because you have too much house payment. Believe me, I know. I've been there. You don't want to be there. So again, first off, you want to make sure that you have 25 to 35% of your take-home pay, no more than that, to your house payment. 10% down is the other factor. The other factor is when it comes to the length of your mortgage, no more than 15 years. Why? Because you don't want to be in debt. You want to pay this off as fast as possible. Now, if you were to trot down to the local bank or credit union and to go get a mortgage loan and you did not have a credit score, yes, you can still get a loan. A lot of folks out there say you cannot get a mortgage loan without a credit score. That's simply not true. Sadly, most bankers are not aware that you can get a loan approved without a credit score. It's called manual underwriting. Now, again, as a former banker, I can tell you loan officers have to deal with manuals that thick per each lender they use. And manual underwriting is something that's buried in that manual. So unless they're familiar with it, which most aren't, they don't even know it's available. So you may have to educate your lender that there's manual underwriting. Well, how do I do manual underwriting? It's simple. What you need to do is you need to provide 4 different bills that you pay on time monthly that you can get a payment history of for 24 consecutive months. That can be your cell phone bill. That can be any of your utilities. It can be your gym membership. It could be rent if you're a renter. It could be if you have a mortgage already, it can be that. Whatever you have, you just need 4 things that you can prove that you have paid on time for 24 consecutive months. If you can do that, provide them with a healthy down payment, and you have all the other criteria met, and do it on a 15-year fixed rate mortgage, you can get the same rate or close to that if you had a great quality credit score. So you do not need a credit score to get a mortgage loan. Now, if the banker says, no, we have to have a credit score, let them know there's a thing called the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, or what we call in the business ECOA. They should be very familiar with that. And let them know there's a paragraph that says if you as a banker, as a lender, have to consider alternative forms of credit when there's no credit score there. Now, can the banker or the person at the credit bureau or a credit union rather still turn you down? They can, but they have to at least consider. And I know of banks right here in Iowa that can give you a loan if you do not have a credit score. If you don't have a credit score and you're looking for a lender that can do that, go to my website, strongtowerconsulting.com, under the Contact Us. Give me a call, shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to provide you with lenders that do that. Other reasons why are myths that we talk about needing a credit score, your insurance. More and more insurance companies, as part of their score that they have, is the credit score is built in. Now, they don't know the credit score and you won't know it, but they pull your credit to see how that functions. And if you don't have a credit score, it may make you have to pay higher premiums. And so you might be thinking, well, Justin, why do I want a 0 credit score and then have a higher premium? That makes no sense. Let me put it to you this way. Why would you want to pay interest on credit cards or a car loan or overdraft protection or a home equity line just to pay a few dollars less on your insurance premiums? I would rather pay a few dollars more on my insurance premium and pay no debt payments and no interest to any debts. That's me anyway. And actually, in the long run, that is a better financial plan. So you don't have to have a credit score to get your basic insurance. We're talking auto insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance, et cetera, et cetera. The other time where the credit score might pop up is with getting a job. More and more employers are pulling your credit. And that's okay, and they probably should because they want to make sure you're doing okay. But here's the deal. If they're making the decision solely because your credit score, you probably don't want to work for them anyway. I mean, because the credit score doesn't always, in fact, probably doesn't accurately depict the character of which you are the potential candidate to work for the employer. So again, there is no real reason to use the credit report, the credit score. If you have any questions on this topic of the credit score, feel free to email me at justin@strongtowerconsulting.com. If you forget the email address or wonder how you can contact me, again, go to strongtowerconsulting.com, strongtowerconsulting.com. Click on the Contact Us part of the front page, and there's my phone number, email, other ways to contact me, and I'd be happy to answer any question you have on the credit score. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Strong Tower Iowa, and I would be happy to answer any of your questions in regard to the credit score. Again, I hope what you have heard today that the credit score is not an accurate means of a measurement to build wealth. All it means is you know how to make payments to the bank and that banks like you. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. The credit score doesn't care. It doesn't matter how much money you make in a year. The credit score doesn't care. It doesn't care how much you have in investments, how much you have in equity, what your spending habits are, what your savings habits are. None of those are in the credit score. And those are the things that are important when it comes to winning financially. Well, again, earlier on our show today, we had Steve Bensema with RE/MAX Real Estate on our show. And if you missed it, we talked about why hiring a real estate agent can help you when it comes to selling your home. And we talked a little bit about him. So if you missed our show, go online, go to our website, strongtowerconsulting.com, and you can find more about Steve Bensema, his process. And we also talked a little bit about the credit score again today. If what you heard today was intriguing and you're going, Justin, I am not winning with my finances right now. I'm struggling and I want someone to help me with my finances, but I don't know where to turn. Go to my website, strongtowerconsulting.com. On there is the free consultation link. When you click on that, enter some information. And what we'll do is that free 30-minute consultation is just a get to know you session. And in that get to know you session, I'm going to find out more about your situation, walk you through our coaching process, and if it's something that you're interested in, I can show you how to become debt-free, show you how to pay off those debt within 2 to 3 years for most of my clients. Most of my clients, I work with them in 90 days, and in those 90 days, we go over everything. We go over your income, your budget, your debts, your assets, your liabilities. We talk about the 7 biblical principles to personal finance. We talk about the 7 baby steps on how to get out of debt and build wealth. How to budget, and if you're married, get along. If you're single, how to do a budget that actually works. We also will talk about things about teaching your kids about money. We'll talk about investments and insurance. And here's the good news. I don't sell any of this stuff. I don't sell insurance. I don't sell investments. I don't sell any financial products. At the end of the day, what I do is hold you accountable to your goals. I uncover money that you didn't even know was available and help you begin to have the right habits in place to know when to save, to know when to spend, to know when to invest. So that way, when you go out to eat, you don't have a guilty feeling. When you put money in the savings account, you don't 3 weeks later pull it out to pay a bill because you already are out of the money for the rest of the month. We talk about when to invest and what are investments anyway, and what are good insurance products. Again, and I don't sell it. The biggest things my clients tell me they like is being held accountable, uncovering money. If they're married, getting them on the same page. Again, my average clients in the 90 days I work with them will pay off anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 in debt while putting an extra $1,000 in the bank. Can you imagine having that $5,000 to $7,000 change in position? In fact, just last week, I got done with a client after 90 days. They came from a referral. Steve Benson mentioned earlier about how a lot of his business is referrals, and mine is as well. And when they called me up, they're like, Justin, I don't know. I see you work with another client and they paid off $10,000 in 100 days. And that sounds good, but is this just theory? Were they just lucky? And I said, well, give it a chance. And they gave it 90 days. They didn't pay off $10,000 in debt. They paid off $13,000 in debt and saved $1,000. And now they have about $1,000 a month extra going to paying off the other debts. I don't care how much debt you have, but if you can free up $1,000 in payments in 90 days, you got a lot of things you can do to pay off your debt quickly. And they're like, wow, we both talk about money. We don't fight about money. It's not contentious anymore. And that is just a normal thing when going through a coaching process. So again, if you're interested in coaching, go to www.strongtowerconsulting.com, strongtowerconsulting.com. Click on the free consultation link on my website, fill out the information, and then we'll get back to you as soon as possible to schedule your free 30-minute consultation and show you how we can take you from being broke and scared to having hope with a plan. Well, I want to thank you for being a part of the show today. I want to thank Webcast One Studios for allowing me to use their studio. Ryan Northfield, our producer, as always, thank you. Again, thank you for Steve Bensema, one of our sponsors, for being on the show today. I am Justin Bennett, your host. This is Strong Tower Financial Hour, where we'll help take you from being broke and scared to having hope with a plan. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Good night.